Jesus dictating the 7 letters to the 7 assemblies. A lot of people, when they hear teaching through the book of Revelation, they just want to get to the eschatology, right? I just want to get to the end time stuff because that's the glitzy stuff. That's the stuff that people want to know about, what's going to happen in the end times. But really, chapters 2 and 3, the 7 letters, are more important. They are what I would say are the most important portion of the book. And the reason why, if you look at my translation, the Last Generation version, you'll see that all of chapters 2 and 3 are in red letters because they are all the words of Christ. And that is why this is so important. It is Christ's own words. We have chapter 1 is John recording the vision of Jesus, in his glory, walking among the 7 assemblies. And the rest of the book is all about, John being shown what is going to take place, but he's being shown usually by an angel or something like that, explaining to him what's going on as he's seeing these visions unfolding. But chapters 2 and 3 are the words of Christ. And that's why they're the most important, because, as I said before, the 7 letters are not sandwiched there in the book of Revelation as filler material. They're not there just to shuffle aside as we get into the stuff that we're more interested in. They are there so that we know and so that we can be equipped to endure what is to come in the end times. And the messages of the 7 letters are all about the assemblies, the type of assemblies that are going to be successful in the end times and the type of assemblies that are not going to be successful in the end times. And we saw that Jesus threatened many of these 7 assemblies, and he gave a promise to every one of the 7 assemblies as well. So we should heed his instructions. We should heed Jesus' warnings, and we should look at those 7 assemblies as examples of what kind of assemblies we want to have. And it's up to us as Christians to make sure that the assembly that we belong to is going to be one of those assemblies that are going to make it successfally through the end times. Because remember, several of them were threatened severely, right? Ephesus was threatened that their lampstand would be removed. There was others that were threatened with severe destruction even of certain members of that assembly. The church the assembly in Philadelphia was the one that was promised to be preserved by God through the end times. And it is that kind of assembly that we want to be part of. And if you remember what the qualities were of that assembly, it was that they had heeded the teachings of Christ. They had heeded his word. They had guarded his word. It's a pretty strong word where it says, because you have kept or guarded. That's literally what the Greek word means. The word of my perseverance or endurance, I also will keep or guard you through and out of the hour of trial that is about to come upon the whole world. So if you want to claim the promises of Christ guarding us in the end times and providing for us in the end times, as the letter to Philadelphia indicates, and also as we get into chapter 12, when we see the woman who flees into the wilderness, that chapter describes how that guarding is going to take place by those few who are like the assembly at Philadelphia, who have kept Christ's commandments. We need to make sure that our assembly, whatever it is, wherever we belong, that our assembly is like the assembly in Philadelphia. And the assembly in Philadelphia, as I said, paid careful attention to the teachings and the commandments of Christ and conforming their lives as individuals, but also collectively as that assembly, conforming their lives to the teachings of Christ as we have in the Sermon on the Mount in particular. All right, and I've referred back to the Sermon on the Mount quite a few times, and I cannot overemphasize the importance of that sermon. Matthew 5 through 7 is critically important. If you want to make it through the end time successfully, you need to saturate your mind with the teachings or the commandments of Christ. There's 10 commandments of Christ. He gave a new law, the new covenant, in Matthew 5 through 7. And if you want to make it successfully through the end times, you need to saturate your mind with that. And also, that sermon teaches Christians how to interact with each other appropriately as part of a body, as part of an assembly. And anyway, I want to stress that point before we move on into the rest of the prophetic part of Revelation, because this is critically important. See, there's no point in knowing what's going to happen in the end times and how the events are going to open up and be fulfilled unless we know how to be prepared ourselves personally for what is coming. And so, again, I stress the importance of the assembly to which you belong, and if you don't belong to an assembly that is faithful, that is like that assembly in Philadelphia, then you need to remove yourself from wherever you're going, and you need to find one. And if you can't find one, you need to start one. All right? You can start an assembly with 2 people. All right? But anyway, that's just a little encouragement.